welcome along to Fanzone. Now, it is, of course, an international week, and that sees a total of 170 Premier League players away with their respective countries. So let's break it down for you and tell you what this break means for your team. Tottenham fans, Harry Kane is the man of the moment, and he could be making his debut against Lithuania this Friday night. His England call-up saw him respond with a hat-trick against Leicester, so it looks like he's thriving on the pressure. Meanwhile, Liverpool fans will be disappointed to hear that yet another player pulls out with injury, this time Raheem Sterling. But is it all bad news? He's unlikely to be risked for a friendly on Tuesday. And so, therefore, more time to prepare for the huge clash at the Emirates on Saturday. But will Arsene Wenger be having words with Hodgson about his 3 internationals? And let's not forget about those players making long-haul trips. Like this man, Di Maria is jetting all the way to America and will only be back just hours before United's game against Aston Villa, though no doubt he'll be on the bench anyway. All those considerations lead us to our all-important question of the day, and it is this. The international break, who will it help and who will it hinder? Please do get in touch with us and tell us what this means for you, and you can contact us in all the usual ways. And guess what? It's an hour-long special, so not one, but 2 guests here in the studio. Let's go and meet them. We've got Tom Hopkinson from The People and Mark Ogden from The Telegraph. Gents, welcome. International break. Does this mean you get to put your feet up, sit around, watch the games on the sofa, or are you scratching around for stories? What does it mean for you?
I'd love to tell you it meant that we got to put our feet up, but now we have editors screaming at us to fill pages and spaces that would usually get filled with Premier League content, but with all the players off with their international camps, it's not as easy. So no, we're running around here, there and everywhere trying to find something to fill the paper with. Yeah,
well, glad you've managed to give us an hour. Is it the same for you? Do you go to some of the press conferences? Will you be at Wembley, for example? What's the deal with you?
No, I don't get involved in the international scene. I'm pretty much focused on events in Manchester, so it kind of shuts down for 11 days.
Right.
And it is quite a long time, to be honest. It does drag out.
It drags, does it? Does your heart sink when it's an international week?
Yeah, giving the Premier League any day of the week ahead of the international football.
Here. But obviously you said you focus on United, so you'll be looking at City, looking at how the players get on, how they play, injuries. I mean, I said that Di Maria probably will start on the bench. Is that fair, though? Because Mata's been sensational, hasn't he?
I'd be surprised if Di Maria went back into the team. I don't think Van Gaal will be asking him to rush back from... I think they're playing in the United States, aren't they?
Yeah,
so
I mean, it's a long way.
Take your time, Angel, come back when you're ready, and sit on the bench for Aston Villa.
OK, so to the question of the day, I'm going to break it down. Who's the biggest loser and who's the winner? I know we haven't gone into the break yet, but there are so many things to consider. How many players away, how long they're going for, injuries as well. But who do you think is the winner for you, from what you can see?
I think Chelsea are going to be delighted with the timing of this international break. It just gives them that chance. They've got a 6-point cushion at the top of the Premier League and a game in hand, of course, but it just gives them that chance to regroup, focus, and providing everybody comes back injury-free, then they really will be able to get into the swing of the final push. But I think it also, most importantly, gives them chance to get Diego Costa fit again from the injury that we saw him leave the game with early at the weekend. Of course, it means he's not gone on Spain duty. He's stayed in London to have his medical checks and tests done over here, and the Spain camp are going to be sent all that documentation just to prove that he is... we know he's had problems, hasn't he, with the national camp and his club in the past, not always happy with their medical assessments, but I think that's a huge positive for Chelsea.
Yeah, I mean, Chelsea have almost a quarter of their season left, and Diego Costa, he has had problems with his hamstring in the past, but do you think he'll be OK? Do you think this one, a matter of the international break and he'll be back up and running again?
I think they're very, very confident that he'll be back for the Stoke game. Everything we're being told at the moment is that, 11 days off will sort him out. It has been a persistent problem for him, this has dated back even prior to his time at Chelsea, so it comes at a good time for Costa, to get himself right for that run-in.
OK, so Tom, that's your biggest winner. Mark, same question to you. Who's the winner of this international break so far?
I think Liverpool, because I think 2 or 3 of the big players have pulled out of the England squad, so they're going to get a bit of a break, get a chance to... I know they're injured, but it gives them a chance to overcome their injuries. And also it just gives Brendan Rodgers the opportunity to just refocus minds. They've had a bad result the weekend against United, and just give them the chance to go again. They've got a game against Arsenal straight after the break, and it's an early kick-off, so the fewer international players they've got, the better, because it's an early start at the Emirates.
Yeah, only 8 players away for Liverpool, which is quite low down the list. Tottenham, amazingly, have the most away with 16. But how much of an advantage is that? Because obviously you see reserves coming in and youth team players playing with the first team just to make up the numbers, don't you?
Yeah, I just think it's a big thing for teams that don't have many players away, because, travelling on long-haul flights and playing and training in different environments, training on different pitches, I just think at this stage of the season, the players have had a long, hard season. For Liverpool to have you know, 3 or 4 other England players around the club, it's great for them. They can just let them coast over through the international break and not worry about getting back at, you know, 3 o'clock in the morning on Friday before they play Arsenal.
I'll tell you what, I'm going to save my losers for a little bit later on in the show because I'm going to go straight to the phone lines, but keep in mind who you think the biggest losers are. And we're going to go straight to Skype. We've got Neville from Cameroon, who is a Chelsea fan. Joins us now, hopefully. Neville, hello, how are you doing?
Hello. Hi to the guys on studio and hi to you too.
Great to have you on Fanzone. Now, I'm being told that Cameroon have already had 1 game this international break and you won it. Have you been keeping an eye on your country?
No, I don't think so. I'm not a big fan of Cameroonian football anymore. I'm more of English football. I'm sorry to, even though I'm not too patriotic with Cameroonian football anymore.
Really? That's interesting to hear. So, so how do you think your team will fare in this international break? I mean, Tom says that you're the biggest winners because of the fact that you'll have Diego Costa home to sort of recover from his hamstring. Do you agree with that?
Yeah, I agree with that. That would give him a lift, even though during these past few games he has been on fire. He's been playing well, but I believe he's going to give him that much needed rest. Most of the players have played 40-something games this season, and I believe with him resting will give him that time to recover for the burnout that he has had during this season.
Is it a little bit worrying at the moment, Neville? Because you did have a little bit of a nail-biting moment in that whole game, but obviously you came good in the end. But what do you think about your form at the moment?
It's been really nail-biting. For the past 4 matches, I cannot really put my hand to tell you that Chelsea will win the game quite comfortably because they have been playing really, I cannot say if it's tiredness or I don't know if the tactics of Mourinho, people have noticed it, but I believe it's been worrying for us, the Chelsea fans, watching Chelsea play with such lackluster performance. And most of the times, I believe it has to do with team rotation. I believe Mourinho has to rotate the team a lot because we have players on the bench who are willing to perform, like Remedy this Sunday. I believe he needs to rotate the squad a little bit so we can give those players who have played more games to rest a little bit and give time for the rest of the team.
Neville, what's happened to Fabregas? Do you think, have you been surprised by his recent form and how he's stopped performing for Chelsea?
I didn't get you.
So what's happened to Fabregas? Are you surprised at how he's performed recently, how he seems to have gone a bit quiet?
No, I'm not been surprised. I really noticed about Fabregas when it comes to this moment of the season. He's really tired, and I feel Mourinho needs to give him that rest. And with the transfer policies of Jose Mourinho, I become doubting of it because letting people like Kevin De Bruyne and Mohamed Salah leave alone, it really worries me because this is a time we need those kind of players to come in for the likes of Fabregas, who is always tired, especially at these dying moments of the season. If you look at his track records in Arsenal, in Barcelona, this is the time of the season that Fabregas doesn't play that well.
Yeah, Tom, I read something the other day that I think a lot of Chelsea players have played over 2,000 minutes this Premier League season, and in other teams it's only 2 or 3 of those players because Mourinho, he's got a team he likes and he uses it, and it is going to start to show, isn't it now?
It is a little bit, yeah, but he's stuck with the team, and you know they're top of the league, so you can't really question what he's done with
For
that.
now,
Well, yeah, no, they're not going to blow it, to my mind, Neville. I think you'll probably agree with that. That they are very, very close to win the title. The one thing I will say, Eden Hazard, he just looks like he's getting fitter and fitter. It doesn't matter how much he gets kicked, and he's getting kicked all over the field by everyone he comes up against at the moment. The man is taking his game to another level week after week, and for Chelsea fans like Neville, you must be delighted to see that.
Yeah. For Eden Hazard, I really believe he has stepped up his game, and most especially adding goals and assists together. He has really stepped up his game, and I believe he needs to really put in more efforts to be in the likes of Ronaldo and Messi. Even though I don't believe he can get to that level, but I believe if he puts more efforts, he will be challenging them towards that level of becoming the greatest player in the world.
Yeah, it's interesting you say that because I'm just being told, I didn't know this off the top of my head, but Belgium are the only country playing who actually have 2 competitive fixtures rather than a competitive and a friendly. But you don't seem to think that it's going to bother Hazard at all?
It doesn't seem to have, does it, at all through the season? I mean, you know, I've doff my cap to Eden Hazard, the way he's ridden. You know, I think we were laughing the other week because Jose Mourinho was saying that Hazard had actually been to him and said that he needed some, he wanted to redesign his shin pads because he was getting kicked by defenders so terribly. But the way some of the teams, the way he looks like he needs a suit of armour, the way some of the teams have been taken to him. But I think what would be interesting to hear from any other Chelsea fans as well. To my mind, Hazard is a contender for Player of the Season, but I also think Branislav Ivanovic has had as good a season as anybody at Chelsea this year. He's probably just in the last couple of weeks gone off the boil a little bit, but I think Ivanovic has been a real unsung hero for them this year.
Yeah, what do you think, Neville?
Yeah, Ivanovic, he has been a great player, especially this season with his goals, his defending, his assists. I think he's, like the speaker said, he's a very good player for the season. But for me, my player of the season should go to Nemanja Matic because when he has gone off the balls, we hardly have that winning mentality. So I believe my player of the season should go to Nemanja Matic.
OK, yeah, I mean, Nemanja Matic certainly was getting all the plaudits at the start of the season, wasn't he, Mark?
Yeah, he's had a fantastic season. I was surprised that there weren't more clubs in for him when he went to Chelsea last January. He's been a brilliant signing, and we were saying before that the strikers get all the attention at the minute with Costa and Harry Kane, but people like Matic have been sensational.
And Carrick for United in a similar way, right? Yeah,
Carrick as well. I just think that the midfielders that do a lot of the work behind the scenes go unnoticed, but they both had, certainly Matic's had a great season. Carrick's had injuries this year, but, you know, Matic, for me, has been probably the outstanding midfielder in the Premier League.
Yeah. In terms of Costa and his injury, Loic Remy obviously comes in and shows us, reminds us what a great striker he is. He's a little bit of an unsung hero, sort of the forgotten man at Chelsea, isn't he? Yeah,
I was at the game on Sunday. Mourinho came in after the game and said Remy always does a job for him. He always comes in and scores a goal, and he feels bad for not giving him more games. But when you've got Diego Costa, when he's fit, you can't leave Costa out of the team. So, you know, Remy's going to have to accept this role as kind of a second-choice striker. So
he was slightly fortunate with that goal as well, though, wasn't he?
Yeah.
I mean, it wasn't the, you know, we're saying it now, it wasn't the most convincing of strikes, and keeper's had a shocker there as well, hasn't he? But Loic Remy won't. He'll be claiming that one and saying, you know, it's exactly what he needed for his confidence as well.
But we talk about the goals that Costa scored, but that goal that Remy scored could be the goal that decides the title. I think Chelsea turned a real corner.
So
there.
Pivotal, wasn't it?
Yeah, you're entering, you know, the final straight, the last 7 or 8 games of the season, and that has put Chelsea 6 points clear with the game in hand. It's for me, there's always a moment in the season when things change in your favour, and that for me was
Chelsea's the moment for you.
We talked about them being, you know, I said they were my winners of the international break. I mean, and that was key to it, you know, going into the international break on the back of a victory. What that could have done to them, the momentum and the mentality, you know, 10 days, 2 weeks to stew on. Only a 2-2 draw against Hull, that could have been a serious blow to the title aspirations. Yeah,
definitely. I just want to ask you, Neville, as well. We were talking about the forgotten man, and I think about Juan Cuadrado, who is away with his country this international break. It's weird. I don't know whether you think that Chelsea have actually become weaker in signing him, because obviously Mohamed Salah went in the opposite direction to Fiorentina, and you lost Schürrle as well. But Schürrle kind of gave Mourinho an option, didn't he? But at the moment, Cuadrado, he doesn't seem ready for this Premier League. So do you think perhaps that you've become weaker by signing him?
I started the show by telling you about the problems with Mourinho's signings this season. I've never argued with Diego Costa and Fabregas, but the letting Mohamed Salah go, I believe it's one big mistake. And bringing Cuadrado at this time of the season, when we need somebody who has already knowledge of the season, keeps me worrying, because Cuadrado has not picked up his game. He has not lifted up his game. He's still lacking behind, but I feel he's going to come shine for Chelsea. But I believe Mourinho has made a big mistake signing him at this time of the season.
Yeah, it's a difficult one, isn't it, the January signings, Tom?
Well, it is. I mean, look at the way Nemanja Matic played when he came back to Chelsea in January. 2014, you know, he struggled for 6 months. He wasn't anything like the player that we knew he could be. And yet this season, as Neville says, you know, he's taken his game to another level. He's probably been the standout performer, certainly for Neville. So
give him time.
I think give him time to bed in. I think given the FFP restrictions, you know, the business that Chelsea have done in letting David Luiz go for 50 million and getting 20 million plus for Schürrle. I was surprised they got rid of Schürrle because he's a fantastic player, and as we've said, he did give them another option. But you can't argue with the business that they did from the, you know, the men in the boardroom, the financial perspective. So I you know, give Cuadrado time, and I think Mourinho will prove himself right again.
OK, fantastic. Neville, thanks very much for joining us on Fanzone. Enjoy all the international games, and we'll see you again soon, hopefully. Let's move on now to South Africa. We've got Chad, who's a Manchester United fan. Welcome, Chad.
Hi there. Hi to everyone in studio.
Hi, good to have you on. So, Chad, what do you think about your team, Manchester United, going into this break? You seem to have turned a bit of a corner with that important win, and does this kind of put the brakes on a little bit?
Yeah, look, you know, I think the international break, you know, personally, I'm not a big fan. But looking at the last two performances of Manchester United, I feel confident that they'll continue this run heading into the fixture against Aston Villa.
Yeah, I mean, we're talking about Di Maria being on this long-haul flight to America, but do you think he's going to be on the bench? Would you start with Mata for this game against Villa?
I think depending on how he looks in training, you know, if he's sharp enough, I think we should start experimenting with both him and Mata in some sort of formation, because I think they're both brilliant creatively when they're on form. But you know, Mata's obviously been our key man in you know, in recent games. So I don't think we should bench him at all.
Yeah, we're watching Mata's goals at the moment, Chad, and guys, I just want to hear your thoughts on him, because he's had to be so patient, hasn't he, with Louis van Gaal to get his opportunity, and he's certainly taken it by the scruff of the neck, hasn't he? Yeah,
he is. I mean, we're quite surprised, everyone who covers London clubs, when Jose Mourinho let him go. He'd been Chelsea's player of the season, or fans' player of the season for a couple of years, and then, of course, he encountered the same problems though at Manchester United, and I think there's a feeling among coaches that he doesn't necessarily do his defensive duties as well as perhaps other players do. But when he's in the sort of form he was in against Liverpool, it doesn't really matter about those defensive duties, because when he's as clinical as he was then, he's you know, you're going to include him in the side, and Van Gaal has said as much, hasn't he, that he's undroppable when he's in form like that. I think just to pick up on Di Maria as well, I mean, you know, I know he didn't, I'm not arguing that he had the greatest of games when he came on against Liverpool, but the pass that led to the second goal was delightful, and, you know, that might just spark a little bit of confidence for him.
I think with Di Maria, it was a great pass, but I think after that, there were some of the misplaced passes. He put his team into quite a lot of danger at times, certainly in the last 15 minutes when United were rocking a little bit. And I think that is the root of Van Gaal's annoyance with him, that he lost the ball so often, because when Ashley Young plays on the left, he's much tighter, much tidier. Di Maria seems to just lack a bit of confidence, and he doesn't quite know the right thing to do. So I'd imagine that if United can get through the rest of the season with Di Maria in and out, and then hope that he settles in the summer and comes back refreshed at the start of next season, because he really has tailed off in a bad way recently.
Yeah. I still feel... Sorry, I was just going to say I still really feel for Di Maria because of what's gone on in his private life.
Personal life,
I mean, you know, if you can imagine anyone going to live in another country and having to go through a raid on his home, an armed raid on his home, and what that must do to his family, I think we've taken that really lightly and not given him...
Well, Van Gaal did say that he thinks that, you know, it could have contributed to his fall.
Well, it has to, and it'd be interesting to hear whether Chad thinks that United fans, you know, will give him a little bit more time to settle and hope that he comes good next season on the back of that.
Good question. What do you think, Chad?
I think from what I've seen, Manchester United fans are fond of him. So yeah, I think we'll give him a bit longer to settle in. I think it's very hard coming from the Spanish league, you know, as a key player for, you know, one of the biggest clubs in the world. To come to England and you know, play an important part at Manchester United, it's really difficult, eh?
I think in Di Maria's defence, he's had 2 injuries this season. He's had a hamstring injury and he also had a pelvic injury, which, you know, in his first season in English football, which is
really not been a good year for him, has it?
I mean, and also he went to the World Cup and was injured again, so he's had a tough 8 to 9 months, and I think a lot of players have had a season this year where they just need the summer to come so they can rest. Unfortunately for Di Maria, there's a Copa America this summer, which means he'll be away for 4 weeks I think it's in Chile, so he's going to have another summer whereby he's not going to get a rest. So, you know, it's difficult to find when you can actually get Di Maria to settle down, because this summer, again, is going to be quite a disrupted one for him.
Yeah, I've been reading reports, I don't know whether it was in either of your papers, that Lou van Gaal has told him to bulk up a bit, you know, in the same way that Ozil had to do, because he was known as Il Fideo, the noodle, in Spain, basically. Not very manly, I know. But that's his physique. And in the Premier League, you can get knocked around like that. Is there any truth in that, do you think?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, look, you know, there's no disputing or questioning how good a player he is. You know, this was a man who was incredible as Real Madrid went to win the Champions League last season. He's a man who performed admirably all the way through the World Cup. You know, so we understand, but the Premier League is a different league to playing in Spain. You know, the physicality of it is just another level up, and that's why I think, again, you know, Matic we talked about a minute or two ago. You know, he's a specimen of a man. You know, 6'2", 6'3", and yet he took a few months to get settled in. So I think once Di Maria gets up to speed with it, and as you say, maybe copies Ozil's lead a bit. I mean, look at Ozil. He's only just starting to play something like the sort of football that we expect from him. He's still not reached the levels that we would imagine that he would. So I think give Di Maria a bit of time, and perhaps, you know, as Mark says, being at the Copa America, perhaps being around his friends and compatriots for 4 weeks, that might just relax him a little bit, so that when he does come back for next season, that could play well for Manchester United, if he comes back for Manchester United.
Indeed. Chad, let's talk about Falcao then. We can't let you go without talking about him. There are reports that he wants away. What do you think? What's best for him right now?
Look, I think in his career he's played a lot of football matches, and I think he's just come to a stage where, you know, personally, I think he should go to a club or league that's less demanding, you know, on his body, on his physique, because it seems, you know, playing for United, he seems very sluggish. He's just not sharp enough as a striker, you know. That's how I feel.
Yeah, I mean, we're reading in the papers that he wants a team to start him more often, but it's chicken and egg, isn't it? You have to have good performances if you want your manager to pick you. Yeah,
I mean, some players and some clubs, it just doesn't work out for you, you know, and he wouldn't be the first person the first player to go to Manchester United and not succeed, but then go elsewhere and make a real good fist of it. And, you know, we know he's a quality footballer, and that knee injury, I mean, Mark's seen more of him, not loads of him this year, but more of him than I have. But the problem that United have got, and it'd be interesting to hear Mark's thoughts on this, because the problem United have got with Di Maria, they own him. That's £60 million that they need to, if they're going to let him go, they need to recoup that somehow. Sure. Whereas with Falcao, at least it's a sizable loan fee, but it is only a loan fee that they've paid. Yeah,
it's £6 million loan fee, and the problem comes in the summer. If they want to sign him, it's over £40 million, which is just not going to happen. Yeah. The problem United have got is that Rooney's now 29, he's their lead striker at the moment. Van Persie's 30, who's had a difficult season. Falcao's 29 and hasn't scored many goals. They really have to start bringing down the average age of their forwards and find a 24-year-old 20-goal-a-season guy, whoever that is, we don't know, because James Wilson at 19. Januzaj more of a winger, so you need a new Ruud van Nistelrooy. You need a new, that's what
Easier
they need.
said than done.
Absolutely, yeah. And you know this is the problem they've got. So signing Falcao, even if he had a good season, would be a risk because of the age of the guy and the age of Van Persie and Rooney. So I don't see any future for him at Old Trafford. And I think the problem he's got is he's on so much money at Monaco, and they paid so much money for him that he's almost like a prisoner to his contract at Monaco because they can't afford to make a big loss. But no club in the world is going to spend what it takes to sign Falcao because his record in the Premier League has been abysmal, really, and he's had the chances now. In the autumn, he was quite rightly frustrated by the lack of opportunities, but over Christmas and certainly the winter period, he's played a lot of games, and you may have seen him at QPR and at West Ham and at Tottenham. He missed some great chances. So he's had the opportunities, he's had the chances, not taken them. So sad as it is, he's just not cut it.
Of course, there are some that would argue that it's all by his own making. You know, he took the money at Monaco when he had offers to go to plenty of other clubs across Europe who could be challenging and playing, you know, a far better level of football. But he took the big bucks on offer at Monaco, and you know. That could be.
The rest is history.
The rest is history, yeah.
OK, Chad, thank you so much for all your questions. Lovely to have you on Fanzone. We're going to take a very quick break. Stay with us. When we come back, we're going to continue talking about the international break. Who are the biggest losers? Who are the winners? We'd like to hear from you, so get in touch with us. We'll see you in a few minutes. Don't go anywhere.